Hey, this is Zach from ZachMakesGames.com. I've got another little project to show off. This is actually a improvement on a previous project that I showed. If you've been watching my videos, a couple videos back I did a video on the final project for my OpenGL class, and I created a little kind of interactive diorama scene inspired by my favorite game, Metroid Prime. I did a lot of work on that to make it look nice. It was kind of interesting. It was all basically done dynamically. It was all done with shaders. I didn't use any textures, so all the materials and all the effects were done purely in shaders and with stock kind of OpenGL things. And I liked how it came out, but there was a few things that I wasn't super fond of. So when I went later to take the actual shaders class, our final project, we had to come up with something involving shaders. And I thought, why don't I take what I had already done, and instead of using the same scene, I will create a new scene and create some new shaders for that and try and improve upon some of my existing shaders a little bit. And what I was left with is this nice little scene. So it's definitely a different scene. The original scene that I had was kind of a almost spaceship like interior. It was that metallic kind of tunnel that had the windows that had that scrolling pattern on it. And this is more of a sandy kind of desert scene. It's a different save station location in Metroid Prime. So what I was going for was kind of sandstone style shaders on the walls and kind of a cobblestoney texture for the floor. And I think it came out all right. The texture on the floor doesn't quite show the edges as much as I liked. I could have sharpened that up probably a little bit, but for the final project it was okay. And I spent a lot of time working on some of the other ones too. So they've got this kind of sandy wall texture, and the room is a little interesting. You've got this area back here that's all kind of broken down. But where I really kind of shined on this project is I spent a lot of time working on the blaster material, or the mesh for the blaster rather. If you saw the other one, the blaster really was just this kind of cylinder that had these bands cut out of it, and it had the end of it. But for this one, I tried to go above and beyond, and it looks quite nice actually. I'm pretty happy with how it turns out. It's a fairly passable Samus blaster. And I improved the shader on it a little bit too, so the barrel of it is a little lighter than like these parts of it. So these pieces of it are darker like they should be than the body of it. So it's actually kind of shaded correctly. The other thing that I made improvements to on the scene is the particles. So if you saw the last video, you'll notice that the particles look distinctly more like little floating kind of particle sprites in this one. The last one you could actually see the corners of the billboard, and I wasn't very happy with that. So I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that the shader that made the sprites kind of pop actually dissolved the corners of the billboards. So it came out pretty good. Of course, if you go in and you look too closely at them, you can still see that they are in fact billboards. And they still have a little bit of an edge that doesn't quite dissolve nicely, but they look a lot better from a distance now. You can be a lot closer before you start to realize that they are actually billboards. And that was something that I wasn't super happy with in the last one. So otherwise, this is basically functionally equivalent of the last project. The save station shader stayed the same. I think I tweaked the inner kind of glow a little bit so it doesn't quite go all the way up. It actually just kind of fades off, but I still have this overlapping issue where it's trying to render transparently across itself. So that's something that would need to be addressed. But otherwise, this is the improvement of the original scene. And I think it came out nice and it looks better. I spent a lot more time on this one. I tried to put a lot more detail into the details really. I tried to make it look much more passable. And luckily I had more time to work on it because I had the existing project. So there it is. Maybe someday I'll actually try and push this into something that works a little bit more like a game and a little bit less like a demo. Maybe I'll try and get something like this working in Vulkan in the future. Um, who knows? Try to not get sued by Nintendo though. So if you're watching Nintendo, hire me, don't sue me. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.